Some big news from Facebook, obviously, and now the government threatening Facebook with huge tax hikes on internet transactions if they decide to ban news. Dr. Karen Sutherland joins us from the University of the Sunshine Coast now. Good to see you.
Hi.
Hi. This came as somewhat of a shock response from Facebook yesterday, essentially saying to news publishers, we will ban all Australian news on our platforms, both Instagram and also Facebook, if this mandatory code comes into force. The government now responding with, no worries, pay some tax. What are your thoughts?
It's like a Twitter fight, isn't it? Like it just keeps going back and forth, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it actually pans out. So, with the whole news angle, really, the amount of people consuming news on Facebook, there's been studies to show that it's nearly like half of Australians actually get their news from Facebook, which is quite concerning. But if people are sharing it, it's also driving traffic to the news sites where then people are exposed to the advertisers, So there are so many different aspects to this conundrum to really unpack.
Well, Facebook won't want to lose this one, though, will they? Because if they do lose it, then governments around the world will follow suit, and pretty soon Facebook itself will find itself handing over billions and billions of dollars. Its stock will drop, no doubt, if this goes ahead as well, because governments around the world have all been pretty frustrated. It's just taken the Australian government in what is, I guess, a middle market to say we can't have our local news providers lose their voices, journalists lose their jobs. We need money.
That's right, but what about the media outlets who are on Facebook and are putting up their own content on there? So how is it all going to work? And I also read something yesterday to show that outlets like the ABC won't be able to make any money from Facebook from it. So it seems there are some rules for some and different ones for others. So I just don't. I'd love to see the actual detail of this and how it's going to work. Like, what about Ticker? Will Ticker be able to share its stuff on there as well? Like, how is that going to work?
Well, there are other platforms. This is the thing. And I think for Facebook, they've gotten themselves into such a dominant point that we're all worried. But I think that Facebook has become uncool for quite some time, right? It's had that thing about it as it's too big, it's too powerful, it's a faceless organization that you never get to speak to. Perhaps it's these sorts of moves that Facebook might, obviously they're pushing really hard against it, but the harder we push back, there might be the possibility that they actually learn their lesson here a bit as well.
Possibly, and there have been other instances in other issues where they have been called to account and they have tried to rectify it to some degree. But it's going to be interesting. But also Google. A lot of people consume their news on YouTube as well, and so it looks. It's not just going to be Facebook. It's going to be pretty much, all of the social media platforms and digital platforms.
I just wonder whether if news disappears, whether that will force people to go and find the news from the actual platforms where they get them from. We hear about Sky News Australia, how they've grown their YouTube platform to 500,000 subscribers within the space of a year and a half. Well, those people are watching their content on YouTube as opposed to on Foxtel or through their own app. And I wonder whether that will push people to go back or whether people will just be looking at overseas versions of stories and whether that will actually open opportunities for people overseas to provide Australian news.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see because at the moment people are scrolling and then they're reading news that way. Half of people, Australians are getting their news that way. But will people go, oh, I'm going to a news site, news, like how people still do that, of course, but will it be as?
All right, Dr. Karen Sutherland, great to chat. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. Have a great day.